Hi everybody, Stuart Tan for the Aurora Life channel. I've got another metaphor for you. And I remember a long time ago when someone who was an early teacher of mine actually used an empty glass, and he took a jug of water and he walked into the classroom and he said this. He said, most of you are like this. You're a glass that is almost full. And the reason why some of you don't pay attention or don't think that this subject is relevant to you is because I'm attempting, or any other teacher is attempting, to pour water into that glass, and he continued to do that until that glass began to overflow. And it was that point of time where it captured our imagination, and I had to start thinking about it more recently, because it's not just water that we're accumulating in our mug of life. We are accumulating poisons, dirt, grime, oil, all the negative stuff that somehow gets accumulated. Some of it is gravel that, no matter how hard you pour, you're never ever going to get the gravel out. So what can you do? Well, there was a show I saw on YouTube, and there was this guy who took like a high-powered jet pump and he started to shove it into the jug. And yes, initially the grime and the dirt and the poison and all the bad stuff that made that glass of water look really, really dirty. So he poured in a lot of good water in order to dilute the solution, but the gravel didn't go away. And that set me thinking, it doesn't matter how much good you pour into an individual, there's always the shadow. If you haven't heard about the shadow yet, go click on the video that I've done about the shadow, and you'll understand why it's so important for us to begin to confront the shadow. What it means is, reach inside that mug or that jar and pull out that block and begin to confront it. Where did it come from? Why would anyone want to put this into your life? And as you're exploring this, you begin to realize that there are certain things that have emerged from you. Carl Jung talks about this from the standpoint of the collective unconscious, where the rest of the world is thinking a certain thing in some kind of a mental matrix, as it were, and you get certain dreams, certain imaginings, and it starts to flow to you. That's not just a wild imagination. That's partly the intuition tapping into the matrix for you, and therefore downloading information that belongs to the collective whole of society. And as a result, sometimes we begin to get dreams or ideas that are completely out of this world. What you want to be able to do with it is to look at that archetype. Perhaps you had a nightmare and you dreamt about, I don't know, the dead rising from the grave or something. If that happened to you, perhaps you can think about what that individual grave represented and how does that coming back to life mean to you. To a great extent, people don't have the option to study into archetypes, and therefore they make it as simple as possible and limit it to 10 to 12 archetypes. In reality, there's so many archetypes, and it depends on which culture you belong to. Sometimes some imagery is more apparent to certain kinds of cultures. So what I'd like to recommend for you is this. If you think of that mug of water and perhaps your life, that water is grimy, is dirty, it's not necessarily a good thing to just simply pour water, good water after it, but rather it's time to empty that cup. By emptying that cup, you start from ground zero. Many people have had their cup emptied by the universe itself. Traumatic incidences, things that force a reset of the way you think about life and embrace a new way of thinking about life. Were there such moments? And if there were, perhaps it's time for you to sit down and take a concerted effort in your reflection so that you'll be able to take that glass of water, empty it out completely so that you can start anew. So if there's anything that's disturbing you right now, go confront it, go approach it, and begin to explore the possibility that maybe you don't have to carry around those burdens anymore. So, did you learn anything from that video? If you did, just give it a thumbs up and then click on the subscribe button and hit the notifications icon so that you and I will continue to stay in touch and I can provide you with updates whenever we have new videos.